Hey guys, welcome to Let's Unravel, and I'm your friend Christina. Thanks for stopping by. Whether you're a friend of the show or a new listener, I just wanted to say welcome. So last week we had our first guest appearance. The conversation was great. In fact, it was so good, we had to cut it up into 2 parts. So before we jump into part 2, don't forget to like and comment on this video. And now would be a great time to check to make sure that you are subscribed to us on YouTube at Let's Unravel Pod. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you press that follow button so you can stay up to date on all new episodes of the show. Now, we want to hear all about your win of the weeks, your thoughts on the show, and your hot takes. Because after all, is cereal a soup? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And I promise you'll hear Katie and I's thoughts at the end of this episode. Without any further ado, let's jump into part 2 of our conversation with Katie Bauer. Okay, I never knew this until I asked you. So obviously there's a chain of command everywhere you go. I never knew a nurse practitioner one. I didn't know they existed until you told me about them. And then I didn't know that nurse practitioners were like, are they the top of the nurse food chain?
Yeah, so you get your nursing license. So you can become a registered nurse, whether that's with your associates or your bachelor's. And then you can get your master's in nursing, or if you do a little bit more schooling, you can get your nurse practitionership. And then there is doctor of nursing. So I think you can go that route. But I would say on my day-to-day, in the NICU, the highest nursing level that I see is a nurse practitioner.
Okay. Well, it's so funny because as soon as you said that, I don't know when you said that to me, maybe about 6 months to a year ago. And then I randomly, because there's so many medical TV shows, Grey's Anatomy does not have nurse practitioners on the show, or at least none that I remember clocking. But I remember I started watching the show The Resident. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't, but I've heard good things about it.
Okay. So the main character, I can't remember his name or the actor's name, but he was Logan from Gilmore Girls. Any Gilmore Girls fan?
I am.
I mean, we're living the dream. We live in Connecticut. I have beef with Gilmore Girls. I'm so sick of hearing about how the grandparents lived in Hartford and it was a nice bougie area. No one wants to live in Hartford.
Maybe West Hartford would make more sense, but not Hartford.
I remember someone saying they're like, no, Emily from Gilmore Girls, she'd live in Greenwich. And then my other biggest pet peeve is I went to school the town over from Yale. I'm like, you are not driving from Yale, and wherever they assumed Stars Hollow was, that's considered Washington Depot in Connecticut. No one is driving from Yale to Washington Depot randomly, it's a quick ride, I'm coming home. No one would do that.
Right. And from where she was to Hartford, saying it was 30 minutes and she's taking the bus, but had time to stop for coffee in the morning.
Right.
At Luke's, I'm like, does she get up at 4 in the morning?
Right. And then on top of it, I'm sorry, there's not buses that go from Stars Hollow to Hartford. But, anyways, those are just my pet peeves. And then it's so funny. I love when people come to Connecticut and they're like, I'm going to do my Gilmore Girls Day. I'm like, you do realize they took niche things from a bunch of towns in the vicinity of Washington Depot. It's not just Washington Depot. And so, yeah, anyways. But I do like Gilmore's Girl. I'm a fan. So Logan from Gilmore Girls, he is the star of Residence. And in the show, his love interest is a nurse practitioner.
Wow, represent.
So honestly, I think I watched 2 seasons. And the funniest thing is I'm like, okay, the nurse practitioner, she's my favorite character. I don't know. She's just cool. She has a full personality of her own. And then the fact she's a nurse practitioner, I was represent.
Yeah, I feel a lot of people, they'll be like, yeah, I want to see a physician's assistant instead. And in the medical world, the nurse practitioner and physician's assistant are equals. The physician's assistant, they go the medical school route and the nurse practitioner goes the nursing route. A lot of times we'll have family members that'll be like, yeah, they asked me if I want to see PA or NP. And so I said well, yeah, PA. And I'm like, okay, yeah, they're the same. I think I'm biased because I'm a nurse, but I would want a nurse practitioner because they've done the patient care and they've done the bedside nursing and now they're a provider. And
Love
so
it.
they have that experience where the physician's assistant, maybe they had some experience, but they didn't have the bedside nursing experience. And so they have the knowledge of it.
Yeah.
And both are good. I think that one just has a little bit more bedside experience than the other one.
Right. Absolutely. Obviously, I have you a nurse and you're on my mom's side, but it's funny because on my dad's side, I also have a PA. Because even when I was working in retail, there were so many people I'd come across when they were in college and it's oh, what's your major? What's the goal coming out of all of this? And they're oh, a PA. I couldn't believe how just in the last 10 years, becoming a PA was such a hot topic. It was almost I felt it took over being a doctor where people were oh, no, I want to be a PA.
Yeah, because the schooling is way less than becoming a doctor.
Oh, okay.
And you get the same knowledge although like doctorate, you probably get more in depth, but you have to, as a PA, you have to know the same amount as a doctor
Right.
and less liability too. You're under a doctor, so they have to approve everything. If anything were to happen, you have responsibility, but it ultimately falls on the doctor. So like people don't want the liability anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame them. It's crazy because I even remember my cousin having said that because one of my family members was like, oh, well, you're so close to being a doctor because I think it was like a 2-year school difference. And it's like, you're so close to being a doctor. Wouldn't you want to be a doctor? And it was for that very reason.
Yeah. When I was in high school, you had to like, or maybe it was middle school, I had to meet with a guidance counselor and talk about like, what was your future like career? And I was like, I want to be a physician's assistant because at that time I was like, nurse or physician's assistant, like didn't know. And my guidance counselor was like, I don't think you could do it.
Being a PA?
Yeah. He was like, I don't think that you could do it. Like,
why?
And I was like, because I think he's just a jerk. I don't know. Like nobody really liked him. And I remember being like, okay, yeah, like I don't even think I could be anything in the medical field. Like, and then I went to college and I had to meet with like a nursing person. And she was like, I am so excited for you. You are going to be an amazing nurse.
I love that.
You are going to do so well. And I feel like that goes back to like the beginning topic of like your worth isn't determined by what others think of you. Because if I had let him, this guy who's stuck in high school guidance counseling, tell me that I wouldn't like amount to being in the medical field, then like I wouldn't have the career and the experiences I do.
You have people in these places, guidance counselor, teachers, all very important jobs. But it's one of those things like the amount of horror stories people have, and it's like you can literally make or break like a kid's dreams. Like totally. Because like what if you didn't go to college pursuing nursing and you decided I'm going to do business? And it's like we'd be missing out on the world's best NICU nurse.
Yeah, I'd like to think that I am.
I co-sign.
Yeah, and I feel like especially during like high school times is really formative times for you. And like you need people. Thank God I had like family and people around me that were like, that's ridiculous. Like you can do, like I had parents like you were saying about your like mom and dad that were like, you could do whatever you want. Like,
Absolutely.
Do it. My dad always says that he wants us to be more successful than he was.
That's awesome. And it's so cool because that's what like my mom would always say. She goes, it's like, I've gotten to this level. I want you to get to the next level. And it's the same thing. Like I think good parenting tends to be that way where it's not a competition with your children. It's more of the like, how can we push you forward? One of my favorite things about just Let's Unravel and really the heart behind the podcast was being able to take a deep dive into someone else's life and career. Like I've had an opportunity to be in a couple different industries, getting to see like funny enough, I actually worked with her brother at an accounting firm. So I'm like, gotten to see a snippet behind the wall of what that looks like, getting to be part of a startup, getting to be part of the insurance world. I've gotten to really see the firsthand look at just corporate, working with CEOs and C-suite executives, but then getting to step behind this veil, getting to see what it's like to be a nurse and just everything that goes into it. And because we talk so much, you lay your heart on the line when you have these patients. And I think that's one of the coolest things about your particular career and industry, because in corporate, you don't lay your heart on the line. I mean, you can care very much about what you're doing, but it doesn't grow the way a child grows. And it doesn't come back to say hi or thank you the way a child or a parent does. And I think that's really cool. And you make this lasting impression that as they move forward into the next phases of their life, that it's like Katie is always a bookmark in their story. And I think that's really special. So, you know, we've talked about life, we've talked about career. What else is there left to talk about but dreams? And so I think the cool thing and one of the misconceptions about your 20s is you think that all your dreams are going to come true in your 20s, but really it's like you get to have a lifetime of dreams. Those dreams change over time because in other episodes, I've talked about how I thought my dream was I'm going to Hollywood, I'm writing a script. When we were kids, I used to try to recruit Katie into being in movies and stuff. There was production issues. By production issues me. But no, it's cool. Even with dreams, they change. And it's funny because honestly, when I was younger, I used to randomly think it'd be cool to be on like a radio show. And I'm like podcasting, kind of like a radio show. Yeah. So with having dreams, have you noticed in your life, so you're 26, middle of your 20s, have you noticed any dreams changing for you? You know, we've talked about the idea of thinking like maybe you'd get married. And so that's changed. But has there been anything outside of those things that maybe like you've acquired new dreams? Or are there any dreams that you're like, oh, like I thought I wanted this, but actually I'm content, or this is what I actually want?
I would say that a big dream for me that I didn't realize until maybe college was that I wanted to travel a lot. And one of my best friends, she goes to like all these national parks. She got engaged in the national park. And I was like, yeah, it was in my last year of college. And I was like, oh yeah, national parks are kind of cool. Yeah. And so one of my like dreams and goals is that I want to hit all of the national parks.
That's cool.
And what was cool is my mom, for my mom and dad's included, they bought me this map that has like all the national parks in America, and everywhere the national parks are, it's a little cutout tree. And whenever you go, you fill in the little tree. And I only have 3 filled in right now, but I'm like, this is such a good goal and like something I can keep forever to like keep this dream alive. Because I look at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I need more than 3. So like, where am I going this year? And it pushes me towards this goal, but it's also like this dream of mine to be able to go to all of them.
I love that. That is so cool. I didn't even know they had things like that. That's wild. I think the coolest thing about having dreams is how unique they are to each individual. And it's even cool, like with traveling. For so long, I'd always wanted to go to Paris. And now having just gone to Paris, it's like, oh, I get to pick like a new place where would be like the next place I'd want to go. So that's really cool. And I never got to give the backstory. So in her introduction, I said Katie Bauer is the world's best transportation guide there is. Let's just say by the time we were in London, if it was up to me, I would have just taken like Ubers or taxis everywhere just out of convenience, not because of any other reason. And Katie's like, we're going to learn how to use the tube. The tube is basically the subway variation, except it's in London. And it's also nice because they speak English over there. You tried to figure out the metro, which is basically the subway in Paris, but they only speak French.
Yeah, I walked into the metro and there was like 2 guys that were like looking at me, and I thought it was going to be like the tube where you just like put your phone, and it wasn't. And I like turned to look at the sign and it was all in French, and I was like, I'm just going to walk. I think walking sounds like a better option.
That would have been good. We were split up at the time, and I remember thinking that would have been a really awkward phone call to get. Hey, I'm somewhere in France. I don't know where I am.
Yeah, I loved being able to go on the tube in London and just like felt like a Londoner. Like I didn't need to ask anyone. I was just like, I just like put my phone, went through, found my train, and just like sat and waited for it.
Honestly, I really liked the setup of the tube. I thought it was really nice, like just walking it. And I love when people are on a mission. It's my favorite. Like these Londoners, they don't joke, especially so in. You've been to Washington, D.C., right?
Yes.
Okay. I love in D.C. how it's like you stay on the right side of the escalator because people are booking it up. In London, same way. I think they're faster. And these like inclines for the escalators are insane. Yeah. Like talk about steep. And there's people that like sprint up them.
Yeah. I've seen like some TikTok videos of those escalators and I'm like, I know where you are because you must be in London because I know that angle anywhere.
Yes. Oh my God. I had like an out-of-body experience when we were in the tube and I was looking around at all this architecture and I was like, I swear to God, we're in the Hunger Games right now. I was like the scene where Katniss is about to go up into the arena. I'm like, they filmed it here. I know it. But anyways, but no, the tube was fun. And then we did a tourist bus. Oh my God, my favorite moment in London. So we had gotten split up because I don't know where I was, but I was waiting for a bus and I was at a bus stop and all of a sudden this guy comes up to me and he goes, are you going to, and I'll make it up, like the red 42? And I'm like, no. And he goes, oh, okay. And he just walks away. He wasn't English, like British, should I say. He wasn't British. And he walks away. And then all of a sudden my tourist bus pulls up and I'm like, little does he know, I don't know anything about the bus route, but that was my crowning moment.
He thought you were a Londoner.
I loved it. I texted my mom and sister so fast. I was like, guys, someone mistaked me for like a local person. It was my highlight. And then I texted Katie. I called her the transit queen or in Katie we trust all throughout London. Because honestly, I got to be like passenger princess where I was like, Katie, where are we going? And I just followed you everywhere. I loved it.
Yeah, I was saying to my mom, I was like, I don't know. I just loved like being the one that knew where we were going. And like, I knew what street we were going to turn down. And she was like, yeah, Katie, that's control. And I was like, yeah. But I just loved it. I'm like, I want to know exactly like how many minutes until we get there. I can definitely be a passenger princess, but I'm also like, I want to know everything.
Well, what was so funny is I think there was like 2 or 3 times you let me navigate, and every single time I would look at her and say, I'm sorry, we needed to go this way. And we would have walked for like a minute or 2. Those, like, I give you a lot of props. The amount of times we would start walking and it would be like, oh no, you have to turn around because it can't really sync up with you that well, but you did it a lot better than I did. And hey, I liked not thinking. I loved it. I was like, woo. do you have a dream vacation?
Yes, Australia.
Oh,
Forever Australia. Okay, Australia is like number one. And I know people say that there's like the scary like bugs and all that
I was
stuff.
just going to say
And,
that.
you know, I am terrified of spiders, the little ones. And so, like, I'd be terrified of that too. But I just loved, like, the idea of Australia.
Yes.
So that's one. That would be, like, my one that since I was, like, in college or, like, you know, like 18, 19, I was like, I want to go to Australia, like, on my honeymoon. Like, I'd go on.
Cool.
Now, like, Australia's still, like, number one.
Yeah.
Close second is Greece.
Ooh, that's mine. That is mine.
Oh, I want to go so bad. The pictures look like so
Yes.
beautiful, and the food has to be amazing.
Okay. So twofold. Whenever I think about going on a honeymoon, I think of one of two things. I either want to go to Greece because I feel like that would be perfect, or two, I always think about like it'd be nice to go to an all-inclusive resort. Like I don't want to think like my point because if I'm planning an entire wedding, I'm sure as heck not going to want to have to plan a honeymoon, but I'm probably not going to want to pay someone planning it for me.
Yeah. I know one of my best friends from college, she did an Alaskan cruise.
Yeah.
And because of that reason, she was like, she DIY'd and planned all of her wedding. And she was like, I don't want to think about anything. So we'll just go on this cruise, excursions and whatever, but everything's like planned out.
Okay, I couldn't do a cruise. You want to know why? One, I was obsessed with the Titanic when I was younger, so terrified. Two, I don't like shark-infested water. I can't play. I mean, when we flew to London, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, if I'm going to die prematurely, it's going to be because the plane goes into the water, shark-infested water. That is how, like, I know. And yeah, needless to say, we're fine. We made it back. Anyways, I don't know if I could do a cruise. I think that would be enough to freak me out and then possibly motion sickness. But how do you feel about cruises? Would you do it?
I definitely would. I've never been on a cruise. Of all like vacations I've taken, we've always done like road trips. I've never gone on a cruise, but every time I tell someone that at like work and stuff, they're like, you haven't been on a cruise?
Does like everyone go on a cruise?
Yeah, apparently everyone goes. My parents have been on like 4.
That's true. And your brother's been on one.
Yeah, my brother's been on a few of them. So I definitely would. I do get seasick though, so I want like Dramamine. Like I'd be sleeping the whole time.
Right.
But
the reason why I know that I couldn't do a cruise is because if you live in Connecticut or you go to like Rhode Island, a really popular day trip is to go to Block Island and you have to take a ferry and it's like an hour and a half. There was one time we went, I was so seasick, like the whole boat was because the water was so choppy and I was like, maybe I can't do a cruise.
yeah, I know they say it's like not as choppy as those, but
oh, okay.
I don't know. I feel like I would need one of those patches behind my ears.
Yes. And then didn't you do a trip once where you guys like took a train or something out to North Dakota? That looks cool and you slept on it, right?
Yeah, that was cool. I feel like it's good to do as a kid because as a kid you can kind of like sleep anywhere.
True.
But like as an adult now, like I wouldn't want to be. We didn't get like sleeper cars or anything. We just like slept like in the seats. They were kind of like they weren't like normal like whatever. But it was so much fun and I would love to do it again.
Yeah.
But my parents as adults, they're like, yeah, I would never do that again.
That's so funny. I feel like usually like my rule of thumb is always like I'll try something once, but after I do something once, I'm usually like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do this. Like, you know, like I can decide, but I don't know. I keep seeing all these cool videos about like the sleeper cart train things, and I'm like, maybe like I could kind of see myself doing one of those. But when we were on the Eurostar, I was amazed at how nice those trains were. Did you think they were nice?
Yeah, I thought they were nice, especially when we like paid a little bit extra for the nicer seats. I was like, oh yeah.
So I got Katie to splurge because I think it was like a $5 difference. And it was like you go from economy to like premium and then you had first class. And I was like, let's do premium. I at first tried to convince her to do first class because I was like, it's like a $30 difference or something like that. And you're like, $6 is just fine. And I was like, okay.
I was like, this is an hour ride though.
Oh, that's what it was. It was an hour ride. And I was like, I know, but like if you're in first class, you're in first class or whatever. But it was funny. But when we flew over there, let's just say flying luxury, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I flew a Velo to Florida recently.
Ooh, okay.
And I was like, why I'm sitting in the middle seat? But like, what do you mean I don't have like, they didn't even offer any snacks. Like, I was like, what's going on? I was so spoiled with we got like a little bag that had like sleeping mask, a toothbrush, like so much stuff and a free water bottle. I didn't even get offered water on this one.
It was so funny because when we were flying, I remember you sitting next to me and you go, Christina, you ruined flying for me. And I was like, you're welcome.
It only takes one experience to ruin the rest.
Meanwhile, you're like, I fly to Africa in the middle seat for like 14 hours. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, this is my first international trip. I'm doing it right.
And we did.
We did. Okay, so a dream of mine. So since we're talking about dreams and like aspirations and goals, we had my dream, and I had told her this when we went to London. I want to fly Delta One. That is my dream. Delta, if you see this, sponsor me, send us on a trip. We want to go to Greece or we're happy to go back to London. But I always wanted to fly Delta One. You get to lay down, you get like all these service things. It's worth the hype, in my opinion. Like I saw the people in Delta One and I was jealous.
Yeah, our seats were nice, but those ones, bougie.
I'm not going to lie. There was nothing better than when we were sitting in our seats and people would walk past us and they're like, oh, and I was like, yep, you're right. Like, yep.
I was like, yeah, you're jealous.
Yeah, you're jealous, and I'm okay with that. I paid for your jealousy. Anyways, so do you ever have, so with dreams, do you ever have like, not so much like career aspirations, but like things that you're like, oh, I would love to own this, whether like, so my dad has always built kitchens and cabinetry and all these different things. So like we've seen so many pictures of not even cabinets, but of kitchens that are beautiful. So of course I have a certain idea of like what I want for like a dream kitchen, which this is going to sound weird. I'm going to throw you for a loop. I want like a deep green, like kind of accent island. And then like, I don't know, like some type of like marble countertop. I swear, I think there was an Architect Digest of like Kendall Jenner's house. Her kitchen, I was like, that was everything I ever wanted. So maybe I'll link that below if I can find it. Do you have anything like that?
So my dream always was just to have like a big house because we come from like a huge family and we used to host like all of the family things at my house.
Yeah.
And then our family got so big that we had to like move to our cousin's house, and now we do it at your sister's house.
Yeah.
And I like always wanted to be the one. I love hosting things. So I was like, I want to like just have like a big enough house. And so like my brother and his wife have been looking for houses, and I definitely love like an open floor plan.
Ooh, yes.
With an island, but I don't have like, I mean, I have Pinterest boards, right?
There you go.
Of things, but like I don't know if I have anything like specific. Okay, wait. When I was
I love it. Okay, here it comes.
When I was a kid, I liked to read, and then I went on a phase that I didn't like to read, and now I like to read again. But I always wanted one of those like seats where like the window kind of like goes out in like a semicircle, and you could sit, and it was like a reading nook. And you could sit and like look outside. Like that's something I always
I think they're called bay windows.
Okay,
Are they not? Okay.
Maybe. I don't know, but that's exactly what I wanted.
Yes, I've always wanted that. Or I always wanted a library in my house, like because once again, my dad did all kinds of like libraries and stuff. I wanted a very like unique library, and I wanted it to be so aesthetic with all like the books and the colors and alphabetic. Like, I don't know. That was my dream. I wanted that.
Yeah, my favorite like Disney princess movie growing up was Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
And the library and that
Beautiful.
castle. Oh, so nice.
I mean, I can't say I expect my library to be that big, but I mean, I don't know, like a library in your office or something, or like as an accent wall. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I definitely love that aesthetic.
While we're still on the topic of dreams, is there any other kind of dream that you've yet to accomplish that you're looking forward to? Or is there maybe like a new hidden interest that you've just discovered that you're looking forward to eventually reaching?
So when I was in middle school, they made everyone take you had to take a cooking class, you had to take a sewing class.
Ooh.
And I like loved the sewing class. And so when I got to high school, like I took a sewing class as well. And I kind of like put it on the back burner. I picked up embroidery, or like as a common friend of ours would say, fancy sewing.
You know who you are.
I like really enjoy that. And it's one of my interests, but one of my best friends just told me that she's having a baby. And my immediate thought was like, how can I like sew her a baby blanket and sew her this and embroider this? So that's like a dream of mine would be to like, whenever anyone has something big going on, that they would be like, oh, can you make me this
I love that
thing? Or so embroidery stuff or like sewing stuff. And then also, I don't know if you've been seeing these. I don't know if it's just like my For You page.
Yeah.
But people making banners.
No, I've not seen this.
So people have been making like, it's just like that like brown paper.
Okay.
And they like paint and make like banners for people like
Ooh.
people's second birthday party or whatever. And there's a girl that always like, it's just like her painting the
Yeah.
things, and she does it like for like $35 or whatever. And I'm like at work and everything, like I make all the crafts for the babies,
Yeah.
and like I feel like I have pretty good handwriting. So I'm like,
You
I feel
do.
like I could definitely do that and like start a business with that. And
Yes.
I don't know. So that is like a dream of mine that's like, I don't know, like just
Do we
a
have
recent
an
dream.
entrepreneurial queen over
I
here?
know,
I think so.
maybe. I need to start an Etsy shop is what I should do.
Absolutely. Or Shopify.
Oh, yeah.
There we
True.
go. You should. You
Yeah.
really should. And then anytime you have people that come through the NICU, you're like slipping your card here. This is what I do on the side, guys.
I make a craft and I staple a business card to
You
that.
should. You're like, the first one's free.
Yeah.
You pay for the second. Anyways, well, those are great dreams. I love it.
Thank you.
So to wrap this whole episode up, usually we'd have an episode in a phrase. I do not have an episode in the phrase this week because it's life. We unravel as we go. That's the episode in a phrase.
Love it.
We unravel as we go. So, pop culture hot take. Were you excited that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged?
You know, I am not like the biggest Taylor Swift fan. I love her music, but I was not like anywhere near you, like have been a fan forever. Like I loved her like country era. And then I like kind of followed her here and there, but I have so many people that love her. And so when I saw that, I was excited. And I was like, oh, I love that like caption. It was like, right, it was like when your English teacher and your gym teacher get married or whatever. And it's funny because my best friend from college, she loves Taylor Swift. And so I texted her and I was like, oh my gosh, Taylor and Travis are engaged. And then she was like, wow, I've been like off the grid. This is how I found out about my engagement.
You can't convince me. Okay, so apparently the story goes on E! News or whoever the person was, it was more of a legitimate site. They had said the story was while they were filming the podcast, he had somebody preparing the backyard and then he brought her out there and he proposed. You can't tell me that she didn't know. Like, come on, Taylor Swift. She is this mastermind. They were talking about getting engaged or getting married. Like, that was a very real thing. There's no way her and all of her business savviness that she's like, I guess I'll go on like my boyfriend's podcast. Yeah. Has she helped her boyfriends in the past? Absolutely. You see that with Joe Alwyn. You see that with Calvin Harris. I mean, the fact she even used a fake name to write a song with Calvin Harris. Wow, this is where my obsession really comes out. I'm sorry, guys. But it's one of those things where I'm like, it's a perfect example of where it's like, no, she knew she was getting engaged. I wouldn't even be surprised if they were technically engaged before, but they had to have the photo op.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that she was engaged before she went on the podcast?
I think two things are true. I think the story that they put out saying that it was being set up and then he proposed, I think that's 100% true. But did they pull like he actually asked her and was serious before going on the podcast? 100%. Because I can't picture her releasing an album on a boyfriend's podcast, but she would a fiance. And honestly, man, she would write one heck of an album if they broke up before the wedding. Honestly, it's a win-win for her.
Yeah.
It really is. But he has gained so much, but she's gained a lot too. I don't know. It's good for business. That's my final thought.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other trending topics that you're dying to talk about?
Okay, so I read the books The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Okay.
Before the show came out. And so like I know how this is gonna end. Or like at least I know how the books end, right? And so like a common question on your thing is like Team Jeremiah, Team Conrad.
You know how I feel.
And like, okay, so I've been commenting and I'm like, Team Jeremiah. Okay, now here's my team.
Have you watched the show?
Yes. Yeah. I've watched up
You're
to
caught
date.
up?
I'm
Okay.
caught up. Team Conrad find himself. Like, I'm not Team Belly. I'm not Team Jeremiah. I'm Team Conrad. Go back to California. Work on yourself because like you're the most like sane one. Okay, but here's my take on it. Is like if you read the books, the first book is all about Belly and Conrad. The second book is all about Belly and Jeremiah. And then the third book is again about Belly and Conrad. So like why wouldn't the show make Conrad look like great? Because like in the books, it's all about like Belly and Conrad.
Right.
So that's why I was like Team Jeremiah because I'm like, he's just misunderstood. Like I've seen the clips. I know he can be like cringy at times with the cake.
Well, what about his cake?
But I do feel bad. Like, I mean, things have come out in the TV show that weren't in the book.
Oh, yes.
For the most part, I was like Team Jeremiah. Then this last episode, I was like, yeah, Team Conrad, like find a new girl. Like,
I love that. Find a new girl.
Yeah. Like, I just love you so much, Conrad. And I think you deserve better.
Connie baby.
Yeah, Connie baby. I think you deserve better than Belly. Hot take, maybe.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of people have that take. Well, honestly, when I look at Conrad, I feel like I resonate a lot with Conrad. So I'm like, that's probably why I was always Team Conrad. But then the other thing is, like, I look at Belly, and even in one of the episodes where he goes, I didn't have the heart to tell her that his mom was getting worse and she dies. And so that's where I'm like, ooh, what do you do when it's like you're with someone that's a real optimist? And it's like, that's the thing he likes about her. He likes that she's optimistic. Who wants to crush like that person's heart? But then it's also like he can't be honest with her. So it's a whole mess. So I get it. But I can't wait for Belly to be in Paris.
I know.
Girlfriend, please make me like you again.
I saw some TikToks of like
Yeah.
these people being like, I was in Paris last year and I saw
Yes.
Belly and Jeremiah and Conrad and
Yeah.
Steven. So I'm like, maybe they're going to be in.
Could you imagine if we were in Paris when they were there?
We probably were.
We were there during Fashion Week.
Yeah. So
Okay, did you ever see, we went to the Louvre on a Tuesday, was it a Tuesday? Yes, because they're closed on a Monday. We went to the Louvre on a Tuesday. The next day, on Wednesday, did you see Zendaya was there? They had some type of party.
no.
Yes, Zendaya was there. I was like, girl, I was there the day before Zendaya was there.
Wow, that's crazy. I had no idea.
Crazy, absolutely. Okay, so last question. This isn't a hot take. This is just a question. What's your favorite like movie or TV show? You could do both if you're interested.
TV show, The Office.
Ooh, solid.
I like never am not watching it. It's like background noise.
Yes.
And this like isn't the best, but when I'm driving home from work, I need to stay awake. So I'll like put it on and listen to it.
Love
like
it.
I'll like have it so I could look at it. But most of the time I just like listen to it like a podcast because I like know what's going on and it like keeps my attention. And my favorite movie would be He's Just Not That Into You.
That's a good one.
It's such a good one. It has so many good actors and actresses in it. I love that movie. I could watch that movie like all the time.
That's such a good movie. Oh my God. Yes. No, I love that. That's a really good one. Now, The Office, do you have a favorite like episode or episode arc in there?
Okay, I know you said it on your podcast the other week.
Yeah.
That you loved the Michael Scott Paper Company.
Yeah.
I also loved that. I don't love the after Michael leaves. Like,
Yes, agreed.
I feel like the show makes me hate Andy, which I didn't
Yes.
hate him before. I don't really love like pre Pam and Jim. So like every time I
Oh.
restart it, I start like after. I love the like fun run that he does.
Yes, that was a
for
good one.
rabies. I feel like that's a really good episode. I feel like the one that like everyone talks about is the like CPR one.
That was a good one.
But also, okay, wait, this is hard because I love this show so much. I love Diversity Day, which is the first season,
my
episode
God.
2. Such a
Yes.
good one. The thing is with shows, like people like don't love the first seasons because like
Right.
you talked about before, like you can get to like the other seasons and you see they put like more money into it and like the characters are more
Right.
defined. But the first season of The Office is so funny.
It's so cringy in a good way.
Yes.
Like, so cringy. Like, even some of the characters, you're like, this couldn't possibly be in an office. And it's like, yes, they are. And it's hilarious. But I love the cold opens. Do you know what cold opens are? Okay.
Love them.
Okay, for anyone that doesn't know what a cold open is, it basically is the first few minutes of a show before they jump into this is The Office or Jingle or whatever, but it has nothing to do with the whole show whatsoever. So it could literally be like if me and Katie were in a TV show and I just punched her in the face and then the episode is all about brotherly love and you'd be like, that had nothing to do with it. Well, right, that was a cold open. It's just to grab your attention.
My favorite is Asian Jim.
That was a good one.
It's so funny and like it's just so funny because even now like on
Yes.
social media and stuff it'll be like I met the characters from The Office and then it's the like Rainn Wilson and like whatever like all the real characters and then
Right.
it's Asian Jim and
I
I'm
love
like that's
it.
hilarious.
Even just the chemistry between Jim, Pam, and Dwight, hilarious, off the chart. And even the relationship Dwight and Pam end up having at the end, where he goes, obviously, Pam, I'm going to get it for you.
Yeah.
After he just said, no, absolutely not. And he's like, obviously, I'm going to get it. I love it. I love The Office.
Yeah, it's my favorite show. And my favorite quote from The Office is, I'm not superstitious, I'm just a little stitious. I like watched
so
this
good.
show so many times and he'd say that. And I was like, I don't really understand what that means. And one time I was watching it and it like clicked.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, it's really funny.
Was that when your frontal lobe?
I think, yeah, it must have been
Yeah.
my frontal lobe fully formed.
Favorite line. I say it all the time about leadership. They're like, how do you feel about being a manager? And he goes, do I want people to love me Or do I want people to fear me? I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. I quote it all the time. I'm like, it's so funny. And then my other favorite one is he decides he wants to be roasted. And so the whole office roasts him and he can't take it. So then he has to roast everyone that's roasted him. My favorite line is when he goes, boom, roasted. And he's like saying things like, Jim, you're tall. Boom, roasted. Which is so funny.
Gumby has a better figure than you.
Boom, roasted.
One of my favorites is when Michael is leaving and he's like trying to shoot a basket from behind in the warehouse and he was like, catch you on the flippity flip. My mom would leave the house and be like, see you on the flippity flop. I'm like, first of all, if you're going to say it right. That's not the quote. And she knows it. I get so mad at her. But I love that. I almost made that when I graduated from college, you can decorate your caps. And I almost made that what I decorated my cap with.
That would have been so funny. Anyways, that is our hot take on pop culture. So thanks for humoring us on that front. So for this week, there's no sticky thoughts or thoughts that stick. This was just a fun conversation with a friend of the podcast, Katie Bauer. So Katie Bauer, where can we find you if we want to connect with you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram. It's at Catherine Bauer _ and I'm sure she'll put it below.
So click that link if you want to follow her. Before we wrap things up, do you have any last remarks you want to say on the pod?
I think that your 20s, like you said in that first episode, like your 20s suck. And I think that they do suck. And I love this podcast because it's a way of like voicing things that you've gone through and you've experienced and have come out the other side. And so like this is something that I wish that 18, 19, 20, like I had been listening to, and I could be like, okay, like my future might not look the way that I want it to, or like all these dreams, but I can still have a really good life and like fulfilled life. And so I feel like this podcast is just an amazing thing that you're doing, and I love that I can be a part of it.
That was so sweet. And I did not coerce her to say that at all. Thank you, Katie. I love that.
Of course. Yeah. So definitely like keep sharing this with your friends and other people so that they can, get this advice that like we wish that we had.
Let's boost that algorithm.
Woo.
Like, comment, subscribe. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. And thank you, Katie, for coming on. This was so much fun. And hopefully get to do it soon.
Yes.
Do it again soon.
So fun.
Anyways, so if you like this episode or the podcast show in general, please give this a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Make sure that you are following and subscribed on YouTube and Spotify. And feel free to drop comments below so that we know what you think of this episode. So Katie, what's your hot take on cereal being a soup, or is it a soup?
Cereal is a soup.
I really don't know what to make of it at all.
I was going to say no, because I was going to be like, soup can't be cold, but soup could be cold. So, yeah, cereal's a soup.
Have I had cold soup intentionally? I've had cold soup, but not intentionally. I think cereal is like a potato. It's a league of its own.
Yeah, I guess.
You heard it here first. Soup is a soup. No, cereal is a soup. You've heard it here first. Cereal is a soup.
Yep. Cereal's a soup.
Awesome. So make sure you connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Let's Unravel Pod. And I will see you again next week with another new episode. We have new episodes every single Thursday. And that is all. I'll talk to you later. Bye.